Welcome! In this week's tutorial, come with us and learn how to create these wetland bases for your miniatures and armies. Select the base sizes you'll need for this project and some wall putty. We'll use this first to help create some height in our bases. Using putty is an easy and straightforward way to add a solid elevation before moving on to textures. Do this to create the shapes you want, regarding that we'll later use some bits and branches. For this theme, we'll use some rocks basing bits. You can choose as many as you want, and also leave some of the bases without bits, as you'll see next. Plan your layout based on what you are creating for your miniatures. Now, without having to wait for the putty to dry, let's glue the bits in place, pressing them against the paste. For this, we recommend using cyanoacrylate. Let's move to the next step and pick some branches. Feel free to gather any branches you like for this. Pick bigger and smaller ones to create the idea of various roots in your scene. Once you have everything ready, you can start to glue them in place, also using super glue. We like to give a ramification effect to the branches. To achieve this, we attach the smaller ones to the larger root. Doing this while the putty is not yet dry will help to press the branches into the paste. After the glue is dry, cut the excess of the branches with the help of some clippers. Be aware of any rapid-fire bits. Once the putty is completely dry and solid, we'll add the earth texture to cover the whole ground area, making sure to reach every spot around the edges of the bits so they blend with the ground. You can also cover the ends of the branches. It will give the impression of the roots coming from underneath the ground. Once everything is dry, use sandpaper to smooth out the edges. This will give a clean border to your bases. Now, in a small container, let's put together a mix of PVA glue and water. To improve the realism to our ground, we'll add some tiny rocks and small sticks. For these sticks, you can use a mortar to pound them into smaller bits. For the tiny rocks, we used river sand, but you can grab any kind of rocks dust you may have nearby. Let's spread our mix of PVA glue over the ground and sprinkle some rocks on top of it, as well as some tiny branches. A tweezer can also be helpful to place them in some critical spots. Make sure everything is covered with the mix, ensuring every tiny piece stays in place. Let them fully dry before moving to the primer. Start by spraying a grayish-green tone on the whole base surfaces. Then, from some angles of choice, apply a lighter green. You can use similar colors as long as they have a dry tone to it. This way, you'll get a closer result at the end. Once the primer is dry, get your tools ready to start the painting process. The first step is to get some camo green paint on the cardboard and apply a dry brush on the whole ground area. This is the first step, so don't worry if you also paint the branches or bits. We'll fix them next. Once you're happy with the results, grab your wet palette for the following steps. Choosing two different tones of brown for the branches is important to give some variation in color, so don't be afraid of mixing the paints in your palette and try it out. Also, don't be afraid if some paint spills to the ground. This won't be noticeable in the end. You can clean or change the sheet of your palette if necessary. And now let's move on to the rocks. Feel free to mix and blend the colors between them. It creates a nice color variation. Adding a touch of yellow to the rocks, instead of just simply painting them grey, will give a subtle touch of color. And you'll end up with something like this. Next, water down a dark brown wash of choice, and also a dark green ink. Cover the whole base with the wash. Make sure to reach every crevice of the bases, branches and bits included, leaving no dry spots. Then with the green ink, splash some dots on the bases, and even cover some earth parts with it for that swamp look. Once everything is fully coated, give the wash some time to dry completely, before moving to the next dry brush. We'll carefully dry brush the whole ground area with an olive green. This will bring up the color of the ground. Adding an off-white tone to a brown paint will help to build up the highlights of the wood. You can also add more white to the mix if you're aiming for a stronger contrast. Now let's focus on the rocks. Start with the light grey and dry brush their whole surface. Then, with an almost white paint, dry brush only the higher points of the rocks. Just like this. The next step is to add some dry pigments. We'll start with the sepia color. Add this near the branches and rocks, and also on some spots on the ground, to add a contrast to the greenish earth. Using dark pigment will improve the wetness of the scene, creating a humid blend. Adding some on the branches and rocks will also give the impression of moss. Now it's time to paint the border. Usually we go with black paint. Before moving to the vegetation, let's add some puddles to the scene. For this, we use the puddles effect directly on the desired spots. With the help of a brush, you can drag the effect to some difficult spots to reach. For example, on the lower parts of each base. Create as many puddles as you want. Near and under the tree branches are nice spots to add it. Avoid adding thick layers. We're only after a very shallow effect, and they will look like this. We'll finally add some vegetation, and for this theme we picked a group of different tufts that most resemble a swamp look. Using Swamp XL will help you create thicker and taller spots on the bases. Doing this first will help you choose where the grass is denser. Now, grab the smaller swamp 4mm tufts. Adding this tuft next to the Swamp XL helps you create a nice transition in height. Remember that it's also important to place them in clusters of the same color, instead of randomly spreading them. After creating the swamp spots of tufts, you'll have something like this. Continue by placing strong green 6mm tufts. Their green color will give a twist of tones to your bases. Take note how we have selected different sized tufts so far. This will improve the variation in grass density. As you can see, the scene is already coming alive with the different tones and sizes. Now, dark moss 2mm. This is a great tuft to use for swamps, marshes and wetland landscapes. Since the moss tufts have many variations in shape, you can use it to create some paths, place them near the water, climbing the rocks and over the branches to create moss patches. To finish the tufts part, let's use tiny dry green. The tiny tufts have the perfect size to fill in some spaces. You can place them near the puddles, on some empty spots of the ground, simulating small dots of grass starting to grow, as well as on the branches, and even on any rock crevices and surfaces. After every tuft, you'll have something similar to this. Remember, every base is different, and you can use some tufts more than others to achieve diversity. Now for the finishing part, laser plants. And for this, we'll go with the Black Magic Nato. Their dark colors and wet look will work well on this theme. Remember, you can always check our channel for tutorials on how to shape them. Choose some spots for them, depending on your base's layout. You can even study their position to make sure where to glue them. Use super glue to quickly fix them in place. Now a quick tip. Placing the laser plants on top of a tuft helps to fix the glue even faster. The idea is to stack the leaf groups for a larger plant. Note how the laser plants can easily add a whole new layer of realism. You can add as many plants as you wish until you're happy with how they look. Combining different colors and sizes of the plants will add even more variety to your bases. And they're finished! Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe. See you at our next video.